So while I was doing a bit of research for my next challenge help video, which by the way is on the Ninja Challenge and is almost completed, I stumbled across something I wasn't aware of. So taking to Twitter, I did a poll for my followers. If you don't follow me on Twitter, here's the exact tweet I sent out. What does Hardwired do versus Sixth Sense? Does it A, reduce its range, B, completely block it, C, absolutely nothing, or D, I'm not sure? 54% said that Hardwired will reduce the range. 30% said that Hardwired would completely block it. 6% said that Hardwired does nothing at all against the perk, and 10% weren't sure at all. Now obviously, one of those answers is correct, but which one? If you would have asked me that question before today, I would have sided with the 54% in saying that Hardwired would reduce the range against a Peeping Tom Sixth Sense user. The correct answer, however, is B. Hardwired completely blocks its user from showing up on the minimap from the Sixth Sense perk. Completely. So how could myself and 54% of my followers be in the dark about this? Hardwired wasn't recently buffed to include this change. In fact, the buff to Hardwired came clear back on November 25th, 2015. And the patch notes read as follows. Increased effectiveness against enemies who have Sixth Sense equipped. Increased effectiveness. Now to me, that implies that Hardwired would only reduce the range of a Sixth Sense user. To further confuse players, let's take a look at the Hardwired perk description in game. It reads, reduce your digital imprint against enemy tracker and Sixth Sense perks. Now obviously, since they used the word reduce in there, I can't blame the 54% of people who thought that's exactly what it does. How can you be more clear than that? It doesn't say negate, although it probably should. Now I'm not one just to read you descriptions and call it a day. Let me show you some proof of these claims. Here's my son and I testing on Nuketown. I have Sixth Sense on and he does not have Hardwired. I had him inch towards me until my minimap displays his presence. So upon approaching, this is the distance that a non-Hardwired user will light up like a Christmas tree against the Sixth Sense perk. It's quite a distance when you look at it from an overhead perspective, as indicated by this red line. What's curious though is that this is just the approaching distance. Upon having him backpedal from this very spot, the distance will actually extend. And just to prove I'm not crazy here, I had him reapproach me. As you can see, my minimap doesn't display him when he's inching forward until he hits the prior spot. But upon moving back, he'll still display. Here's an overhead projection of this new range. Now I don't know if this is a glitch or what, but what it boils down to is this. If an enemy is moving away from you, he'll display at longer distances on your radar than if he's advancing towards you. Very strange. Here's an overhead shot comparing the two distances, with the red bar being an enemy backpedaling away from me, and the orange bar being an enemy approaching towards me. If anyone has any explanation for this, please let me know in the comments. Maybe it's something simple I'm just missing. So now here's the footage of my son when he has Hardwired equipped. As he inches his way towards me, you'll see that my minimap never indicates his presence. Even when he's in barrel stuffing range, there's no activation of the Sixth Sense perk whatsoever. This then proves that Hardwired completely negates it. It doesn't reduce it like everything in game would imply, it renders it completely useless. To be fair, the reason I thought it reduced it, besides the obvious in-game text of course, was that I swear I've seen my minimap display a horizontal red line before. And I wasn't wrong in that regard. It's sort of a cone shape that projects outward. Now here's the horizontal red line I was referring to. Notice how the cone disappears and all you're left with is a solid red bar. In all my hours of playing this game, I just assumed that the horizontal red line I was seeing was a player wearing the Hardwired perk, thus reducing the range, yet still notifying me that there was someone in the vicinity. Turns out, of course, that I was wrong. What this horizontal line means is that someone is on a different level than you, either above or below. As you can see here, when on the same level, the cone effect displays. Upon my enemy jumping down a level, the horizontal bar now appears. Remember though, this will only happen if the enemy does not have the Hardwired perk on. So anytime you see the horizontal red bar, it means an enemy is either above you or below you. To go a bit further, I wanted to see just how high above or below the enemy had to be. So I measured it. This is the height difference that makes the cone shape turn into the horizontal shape. It's not very high at all. And here it is from a different perspective. And by the way, if you're interested in seeing how Hardwired used to function before the November 25th buff, as well as what else it can do, TheXclusiveAce did an elaborate video on the perk when the game first came out, which I'll link in the description. I'm actually a bit embarrassed to have just now figured all this out. But the fact that 54% of my followers thought the same as me, it's a little reassuring. I'm genuinely curious to see how many of my subscribers knew this. There's no shame in admitting if you didn't know, so let me know in the comments. Were you like me and just assumed that the buff to the Hardwired perk only reduced the range of 6th Sense? Or were you fully aware that it completely negated it? Either way, I think they need to update the in-game description to correctly state it negates it, rather than reduces it. Knowing this information, the Hardwired perk becomes even more valuable for a stealthy class setup.